Welcome to House Calls, and I'm Dr. Connie Mariano on House Calls for the month of January. So happy January 2025. This is my favorite time of the year because my birthday is this month, but also a lot of happy things have happened this month. So let me begin, as I usually do, in our 10th season. And as we talk about beginnings, I'm celebrating the 10th season of House Calls this year. So in addition, we're celebrating a lot of other things this month, and I always begin each show with the sort of shout outs, but I don't like to shout, so I'm going to call them my honorable mentions. So I'm going to name all these wonderful events. January 1st of this month, my friend Laura and Yvonne celebrated their 4th year of marriage. Congratulations. Also, it was a wedding anniversary of my friend Dr. Asha and Chris Devereaux in California. Congratulations. Lots of birthdays in the month of January. We have a lot of Capricorns and Aquarius. Susan Schumann turned 95. Jeannie Beckland in Maui had a birthday. George Faust, happy birthday. Dr. Patty Pepper, who's been on our show before, celebrated. Mary Gertz, Susan Weiss, Dave Vandenberg. Ananda Roberts just had a birthday. Ryan Clifford is having a birthday right now. Today's his birthday. Lisa Clark Price, happy birthday. Ivan Dimitrov, happy birthday. Jerry Lininger is my famous classmate from internship and residency. Jerry was a naval officer, flight surgeon, and became an astronaut. He was a flight surgeon, astronaut, interned with me in 1981, and he was the astronaut on the Mir when it had a fire, and he recovered from that and lived to tell great stories. So happy birthday, Jerry. Annette Schwab, Edie Yoder, Casey Jensen, friend of our families, Rick Harrington, Katina Patriquin, who celebrates a birthday January 20th, along with my friend Dr. Mac McGuire, who also is another physician, Vicki Conrad, Ed Bulkey, Dr. Seema Mohan, Andy Ferguson, Dorothy Dowling, Rick McAfee, and Al Polda. So all of you, happy birthday, guys. Also, we have milestones and we say farewell. This month, former President Jimmy Carter passed away at the good old age of 100. I had the honor of meeting former President Carter several times during my White House years. He was mentioned in my memoir, The White House Doctor, My Patients Were Presidents, in the very first chapter, where I slept with 3 former presidents on Air Force One on our trip to Morocco for a state funeral. And Jimmy Carter came on board, and we gave him the bottom rack in the medical compartment. And I still remember he was like a little kid. He sat down on the bottom rack in the medical space, and he looks up at me and says, just like on the submarines, because he knew I was Navy and he was a naval officer, and it was actually a very sweet thing. So my condolences to his family, honor his memory for how he served our country as a naval officer and nuclear power submarine officer and lived to the good age of 100. That's amazing. January 10th, for my friends who are in the fashion industry, January 10th, 1971, Gabrielle Coco Chanel died at the age of 87 on the 2nd floor of the Ritz in the Vendôme in Paris. She is buried in Lausanne, Switzerland. One of my friends and I, who actually is a huge advocate of Coco Chanel, one day will do a pilgrimage to her graveside to lay flowers there one day. Probably, it was camellias is her flower because it had no fragrance. So that's just an aside story about her. So I look at this year coming up, and I'm always excited when I begin the year because I look at it as a blank slate. And I always begin with the intention, what is the best I can do with the year ahead? I always tell people that every day is a blessing and every birthday is a gift. And when you look ahead, what do you want to do with this year? What things do you have in mind? People do resolutions, of which most of those fail because people are gung-ho in the beginning and then they fail to institute them. But I always look forward to planning things and seeing how they evolved over time. But I look at all these events that you wish would happen and what are things we look forward to in our lives. And for us, it's events that bring memories to us because in the end, it's about the memories you keep with you. And I'll pause because what brings to mind now is what happened this month in California with the fires. And it is devastating to think of all the lives lost, but also the memories in the homes of these people who have lost everything in their homes and the equity they have. That was their whole retirement. And it just breaks your heart to think of what has happened. So hopefully that is an alarm to other states and other municipalities and to our country to make sure that we are current in terms of our fire standards, that we are prepared for fires, and that people are really cautious about what goes on in terms of risks and hazards to us. But it is heartbreaking to see those people suffer and lose totally everything. But, you know, they say it's stuff, but still all the stuff has value in their future, and their only wealth was in their homes and what they had there. But you think of what memories come with all the events that pass in our lives. And we look at memories as milestones that allow us to we look back at all these things. And so I looked at what are the 18 biggest life milestones that people celebrate, because the hope of this show is talk about what we can celebrate. So what are things we celebrate in our culture? Being born, obviously. Every birthday is a reason for celebration. Parents celebrate when their little one is walking and talking. Starting school, we celebrate making friends. Do you remember when you met so-and-so? Yes, I do. When we experience failure and rejection, that's a milestone. We don't necessarily celebrate that, but it's something that marks a significant event in our life. Dealing with the death of a pet early on in our life, definitely dealing with the loss of a loved one when we do celebrations of life and funerals. Finding something you are good at, and maybe in each of our lives we find something that, gee, I think that's my superpower, I'm good at that. You come to that awareness. Some people are still searching as to what that is. Learning to drive. Remember when you first got your driver's license, people will post that, they take a picture of the driver's license. Leaving home is a big milestone, definitely for parents when their first child leaves home for school, for college, and also for the person leaving home. Do you remember how old you were when you left home? Earning your first paycheck, falling in love and experiencing heartbreak, making a major purchase like a car, definitely with a house, getting married, that's a big milestone, finding your own path in life, having children, that's a huge milestone. Retirement is another big milestone. It's almost, people look at the end of life, and then reaching the end of life. Well, how do you celebrate that? And so I look at all those milestones that gives you pause to reflect. Why did that happen to me? What did I learn from that? How can I be a better person? What can I teach other people about that milestone that hopefully they can do a better job at navigating that? So this month, this show is about celebration and commemoration of events where we get together. And I'm really fortunate to have here in the studio the experts, the destination managers, the experts in how to handle these amazing events. Now, we do have props here. We have various props because sometimes you need visuals. And I look at our two guests here, Nicole Lessard and Donna Allen of Destination Manager, as truly they are the wizards. They are the wizards of the magic behind these events. So I'm going to share a little bit about their company, and if you want to find out more about them, and if you're a company in your own right, hire them. They're amazing. But Destination Manager is a women-owned and operated full-service destination management company based in Scottsdale. For 25 years, the Destination Manager has created extraordinary moments and memories for clients throughout Arizona. From a secret event space for an intimate setting gathering to managing logistics for over 3,000 guests, they are your trusted go-to for any and all Arizona destination planning and event needs. Donna Allen, DMCP, and we'll talk about that, is an Art Institute of Phoenix alumna whose role at Destination Manager, TDM for short, was conceived initially as a creative experiment to internalize the process of event design in an era of outsourcing. So lots of brains, creativity. Donna parlayed her technical education in interior design into the realm of event design, successfully building a team of creatives to redefine TDM's signature organic design approach. Now as a creative director and co-president, Donna's legacy as a creative powerhouse has laid the foundation and built the systems for strategic form and function design. Nicole Lessard, DMCP, originally from Massachusetts. She was a meeting planner in Boston before moving to Scottsdale in search of sunshine and blue skies. You found it. She joined the Phoenician, a luxury collection resort, where she continued to develop her interest for the hospitality industry, specifically in high-end luxury capacity. We love luxury. In December of 2009, Nicole joined the destination manager as operations manager and subsequently as director of operations. 15 years later, you know how hard it is to do a business? They were saying about 60 to 70% of startup companies fail in the first year. So you have defied that. 15 years later, you're together. You're the managing director and co-president of the company. DMCP, for those out there, is a destination management certification professional. It's not anybody who can do this. There's certain classifications and criteria you have to fulfill by the Association of Destination Management Executives International to individuals who have demonstrated the highest knowledge of best practices. There are only 11 DMCPs in all of Arizona. 8 of them work in their company. So welcome to our show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
You've not done a podcast before?
No.
Oh my, you're going to be awesome here. So the reason I got together with these two amazing women is because of my birthday. I like to have a little birthday party every year. So I get to wear my birthday hat. And the Westin, who always does my parties, has said, you got to work with Destination Manager to set this up. And so they gave me your name. And as soon as I met you, I said, oh, I would love to interview you on my show because I want to ask you the questions people want to know. Number one, you don't do weddings, right?
We don't.
Okay,
no.
good, because you don't need that heartburn. That's a whole different. That's a whole different realm. That's when you have to give Xanax
That's
to
tough.
the mother
Yeah.
of the bride. But if you were talking to a layperson or at a cocktail party, what would you tell them? What does your company do?
Destination management company handles everything that's above and beyond what a resort or hotel can provide in any given destination. For example, here in Scottsdale, we provide ground transportation, staffing, hospitality staff. If you needed someone to assist with your guests getting up to answer questions or talk about how great you are, they would assist with that. If groups want to leave the resort and go to a restaurant for dinner, we take care of all of that. We can throw an event in the middle of the desert and everything related to that, the catering, the linens, decor, musicians, all of it. And also activities. We do a lot of activities, kind of like a concierge, but on a group scope. So much larger. So we don't actually own any of those things. It's a service that we provide because we pair ourselves with the best of the best that exists in our market. So we know who to get you to that's going to give you the best experience.
How do you find these people?
Truly just in our normal lives. When we go out to dinner or...
In the power of social media.
Yes.
I'm like addicted to Instagram. I'm always on there. I get influenced accounts. You know, it's kind of like a web. I think now with social media too, you know, we're able to branch out and someone's tagged here, there. I'm always like hunting, you know, looking for the best, trying to find new talent.
So you've got the great contact list, Rolodex. You know who to call. You know when things happen. So you came up with the idea, right? With the company, didn't you?
I actually didn't. So our founder is Connie Mariano. Okay. She started the company 25 years ago. Okay. She worked at the Phoenician and kind of ran the DMC department there. It was an internal department and decided at one point, you know, I think I can do this on my own and decided to branch out and start her own company.
And then you took over or continue to work with her, or how does that work?
So Nicole started there before me.
Yeah.
Colleen's really great because she's always surrounded herself with really talented people, a younger subset of people, you know, to be able to bring in, you know, that diversity into the company. And I think that's really helped us grow overall.
But you specialize in event planning for companies, right? Corporations. What made you decide you wanted to do that for the companies?
If I can. So traditionally in a DMC, they would outsource their creative talent to prop companies or decor houses. We're talking the 90s and early 2000s. And Colleen had this idea that she loved redesigning her home over and over again. And she was very talented with that. And she thought she could bring in an interior designer in who has this great residential perspective.
Right.
And maybe turn that was really where the aesthetic at that time for our events was going. And so she found Donna, who was about to graduate college, and thought, let's try it with this young lady and see what she thinks. And so we brought Donna in just for a couple of months. We call it the Great Experiment.
Great Experiment.
Yeah.
And shortly, I mean, we were a couple of weeks in, and we said, this is where it's at. This girl has this eye. And so instead of us paying other companies to give us their ideas, we got to bring the ideas in our house. That allows us, we still do that to this day. A lot of our competitors have followed suit since we did that, because it's been such a successful thing. So now we come up with the creative in our company, and then we pull the product from many different companies. That allows us to always be reinventing a new event. We have a lot of beautiful events on our website, and our clients come to us and say, we want that. And it's a huge honor that they want something we've already made, but we don't want to do something we've already made. We want to keep creating something new. We love the challenge
of making something new.
So
Donna was the brainchild behind it.
So up to this point, what is the most challenging event you've ever had to prepare?
That changes weekly.
It does. Yeah. Why is it challenging? What makes it challenging to you?
For a lot of the times we're having to balance, timing with the hotel, and production companies, meeting rehearsals happening for meetings. There's so many different departments, across our clients and hotels that cross paths, and we have to do a lot of coordination amongst each other. We might need to flip a ballroom, in 90 minutes from general session to awards dinner, drape the entire ballroom, full stage setup. It can be really challenging. Wow.
What's the biggest event you've ever worked on? 5,000? How many people have you done that?
3,000 was the largest. Our kind of sweet spot is usually between 50 and 450. But we can do much larger, and we can do much smaller and more
What's
intimate.
The smallest size?
Probably about 8 people.
Is that a company?
Yes.
It's a company of 8 people? Was
it
an
intimate
board of directors?
Oh, okay. And usually what do you do for those? Just a small intimate dinner or?
Yes. We do a lot of, most of the events that we do are evening events, a dinner related event. Sometimes it's during the day. A really amped up, beautiful lunch, but the evenings are
those are the special ones.
Yeah.
What comes out of all your years in your company? Name 3 different events that stand out as like you are so proud of those events, and tell me why. What stand out?
Well, we have an incredible client that we actually get to work on his event every single year. It's usually in May, and he basically comes to us with a very healthy budget. It's for 1,000 people approximately. And he's like, either he has an idea of what he's looking for as far as the theme, or he'll ask us to, share some ideas with him. And we'll draft up the proposal. We'll work on it, for a few weeks, send it over. And 99% of the time he writes back, looks great, let's move forward.
Wow.
So it's just really special in that he trusts us implicitly. And, really values our work, and, it's just, he's so happy and easy to please. He also has a client, he's actually a meeting planner, so he has a client he actually has to answer to as well.
Wow.
And so it's very layered, but they're equally as happy, and we feel so lucky to be able to work with them.
Because you would be challenged by somebody in your field to say, show me something that tops this. That tops that.
He's really great, though, because he really allows us to, flex that creative muscle.
Yeah.
Everything we create for him is brand new. It's something we typically haven't done in the past.
So in terms of theme and decor and menu, it's just totally different.
All of it.
Totally different.
Yeah.
We've had a baseball movie themed, so 5 different baseball related movies that were all incorporated into one event.
Let's see.
The circus, the carnival.
We did a carnival circus hybrid type of event. We've done like an island theme. This year we're looking to do a party in the parking lot with sand.
Like a beach
so we're
party.
A beach party. We're looking to figure, all the logistics of that out right now. It's really, his concepts are really unique. Yeah.
That is really fun. I don't know if you did one of the first parties I Well, I did in 2020 at the Westin. I had the post wedding party for my son, my youngest son, and his wife, and then after that, I did a Hooray for Holly Days party,
Yes.
like Hollywood, the Hollywood one. Everybody got an Emmy or a trophy.
Yes, yes.
Because I had my screenwriter who was going to do my television series, which was on hold, came out, and I thought we'd go Hollywood. So we did the red carpet, and everybody got an Emmy. And every table had a name of a movie. And then when I got up on stage, I took my award. I said, "Thank you. You must really love me." And then when we announced that, when my grandkids would cue the beginning of the band playing, we asked for the envelope. So they opened the envelope, and then we sang. And then last year was Classy Country Christmas, and this year is the what is the theme this year? It's it's birthday, but. What's fun for this one is all the people coming back, and I tell people that what I want to hear at this party is the 2-minute tributes, and in it, all the things you'd say about me in my eulogy, I want to hear it now. So we're going to pause for a break. We'll be back with Dr. Connie and the creative art and beauty of these two women from Destination Managers. So stay tuned for more. Welcome back to House Calls on our very first show of 2025 in January about the life of the party. And our special guests, as we introduced in the previous segment, are Donna Allen and Nicole Lessard of Destination Manager, who are the experts in planning big events for corporate America. Well, actually corporate Arizona. But they are incredible experts in what they do, and they are really the unsung heroines, the heroes, about making parties magical and special. How do you come up with your ideas, though? What do you have a process that you do, Donna? It's
just kind of about exposing myself to as many things as possible. Again, power of social media, Pinterest, sharing your craft and not holding it just to yourself and putting it out there in the world can really help inspire and ignite something else, in another person. And, you pull a little idea from here or there and, some inspiration, it can come together really nicely. But sometimes, we'll sit in the office together, have some brainstorming sessions. We get some really wacky theme requests, obscure.
What's the wackiest one you've ever had that somebody will ask you to do?
What comes to mind?
Even with corporate, we get a lot of Halloween-based ones, which is a hard...
Yeah, Halloween.
There's a lot of gore.
Or something obscure like, reaching new heights. Mm-hmm. We want a themed dinner that, showcases that. So, it's hard. We pride ourselves on not being overly literal, too, in our event designing and decor. So it's about, finding like a happy medium for that and, a little taste of it here or there.
Have you ever told a client, no, we can't do that?
As far as the theme goes, no, not necessarily.
So you steer them away from it.
We give them some options of that and some options of other things to consider.
You're so.
We try to be delicate
you
about it.
You never say no. That idea sucks. We're not going to do that. I'm going to do that.
They're all paying clients at the end of the day, right?
So have you had an event where someone comes up and said that was like the most amazing time? Like, have they come up to you and said that?
We absolutely have.
So you've had those moments with that. So. One of the things about executing these things, it never goes according to plan, right? Do you find that every event you do, there's something that happens?
The majority of them.
Well, are there common things that always you can count on going wrong?
Even in Arizona weather, a lot of our clients are fully committed to having their event outdoors, and that's how they've envisioned it from the inception. And then the Mother Nature is telling them they should not do it. And they look to us to say, well, that will change. It will be great. You should stay outside. But we don't lie. We tell them, we strongly suggest you move inside as well. And that's usually one of the biggest hurdles is getting over that. Because what people have in their mind about what the event's going to look like, you don't want to ruin that for them. But you also don't want the guests to remember that it was so cold, then the food was cold, and then the guests leave early. Yeah. That's a sign of a very bad event.
Delicate balance.
Yeah. So we really try to keep that in mind. I think for us, because we have so much interaction with our clients directly, and then there could be, 300, 400, 500, 600 guests that show up, getting to see the wow and the surprise when they walk in the space is one of the most rewarding
It's
parts
how you all
of it.
decorate.
Pulling out the camera, the phones to take pictures and things like that.
That's how you decorate.
It's like the greatest compliment ever.
Yeah. That's always a fun thing. One of the things I noticed doing fireworks, people tend to leave after the fireworks rather than go back and dance. So that's something I have to remember. If I want to close it early, we try to push the fireworks later. Because people think, okay, bye. Like, no, come back.
They think that's the end.
Coffee, we dance some more. Yeah, they're like, no, it's not over yet.
We run into really funny challenges. They're not funny in the moment, but they're funny later. Recently, in the fall, there were hurricanes hitting the southeast. And so some things we ordered weren't going to make it here in time. And one of those things was about 700 cocktail napkins that had been specifically logoed for the event. And since it is our business and our reputation's on the line, sweet Donna.
We put our heads together to try to come up with a solution. And that meant calling the employees, seeing who was available to come help us. And basically we went around town and picked up 700 navy cocktail napkins that were blank. I called my graphics guy. I'm like, I need these. I presented him the idea. I need, this many logos. What can I do? How can I fix this? And he printed the logos, gave them to me, and we cut them all out, and he transferred every single one.
Wow. How many in your team that you can call upon? How big is your company?
We have 16 full-time women right now, and so we just called in whoever was available. That's usually what we do. We just send out the bat signal, and whoever can drop anything and come running, they do. We're very lucky on that. We've had other events where linens were flying in from out of state, and we had cars waiting on the tarmac because the plane was delayed to get them and drive them to the resort. We've had a lot of timing crazy issues, but usually we can solve them. Most of the time we can solve them without the client knowing.
Yeah, they never know.
But 100% of the time we solve them without the guest knowing.
Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting because a lot of, the goal is they'll never know. They'll never know. They couldn't tell it happened.
Right.
So are you there during the actual event when it's happening? Or are you behind you're behind the scenes?
We're behind the scenes. They don't know that we exist.
Oh, I'll be looking for you. Yeah, no. But you can tell. Are you there throughout the entire night?
For most of them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes it fun because they're like looking to help, what happens there. But, it must be tough in your industry because you probably don't have any time off, right? Is this your busy season? This is your busy season.
It is our busy season. January through May is extremely busy for us, but thankfully right after that comes the summer and the warm weather in Arizona. So we all do what we can, to get some time away with each other. And then it kind of picks back up a little bit in September, October, and it's a great year.
It gets real crazy. So what do you do to, unwind and just get away from all this? Do you get away to a resort, or what do you do?
Resorts, for some extent, have lost their...
you work for
Yes.
You've been there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, once you're this ingrained in the hospitality world, you can never shut it off. So when you go on vacation, if you're at any resort, not even the ones we partner with, and you see a piece of trash or you see someone who looks lost, you just naturally insert yourself to help save them for no reason at all.
Yeah.
I was in Boston, where I'm from, with a boyfriend one time, and we were going out to dinner, and I saw this group of about 30 people, and you could tell that no one was leading anyone the right way. And I just stopped what I was doing and said, "Oh, where are you going?" "Oh, yeah, that's right over here." And I walked backwards and showed them where the crosswalk was. There's no reason, but you don't even know you're doing it. So
you launch into that.
Yes, it's hard to break.
It's just that mindset. We thrive in that type of environment and just want to be overly helpful.
And you dine out a lot here in town, don't you?
Yeah,
so you know the good restaurants and not so good restaurants. Do you ever blog that about restaurants or comment on that you go to, or?
Not necessarily for the business, but I will post about it on Instagram.
Whether it was not so great or so good. Yeah. It's really the experience. You're creating experiences for people so they'll remember what. So when you do events, what do clients tell you was like the wow when people look back at your event?
I think the most impactful thing that we hear back from clients, that impacts their guests, is whenever we have like something that's experiential for like an evening event. That could be like a gifting setup. They get to select like a leather good, and they can brand that, with their initials and personalize it.
Cool.
Any tasting type of experiences, like hot sauce tasting, different types of like margaritas, things like that. So those tend to really make an event special and, keep it interesting.
So for your clientele, how young have your clients been? And then how old? What's their range?
That changes regularly.
Really?
Before COVID, I would say our clients and their guests were generally in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Post-COVID, they're getting younger. So now we have groups that are easily in their early to mid-20s.
Yep.
And each demographic wants something different. So when you have a group that kind of spreads over all of those ages, you really have to make sure you're thinking about things for each of them to do so that everyone walks away from the event
feeling fulfilled and heard.
Wow. It's got to be special. It's got to be something that touches them. So from your experience with companies and clients and their guests, what have you learned about people?
I would say that it doesn't really take that much to always wow them. You don't want to make it difficult. People like things that are approachable to them. So keeping that in mind and not trying to always really recreate the wheel. What's new to someone isn't new to someone else. So even though we do things all day long that are pushing the new and finding something different, we have to remember that even what we did 3 weeks ago is still new to someone else. So keeping that in mind and keeping it in perspective, I think for us, what we've learned about ourselves is that we don't, even though we're so immersed in the details and making sure everything is perfect and, it got to keep the face on all the time that everything is perfect, even if the napkins are missing and we're in the back, ironing them. It puts things in perspective that this is all the fun stuff and it's exciting and we do it all day long, but it's not life-changing. It hasn't, we're not saving lives. We're creating experiences. So kind of keeping that in check, it makes you really appreciate everything that we get to do. And certainly when COVID happened and the business went through a really challenging time, and that really made us truly appreciate everything we have, how many clients we get to touch, how many vendor partners we get to touch. That's been really, really inspiring. We have the benefit, Donna does this on a daily basis with her Instagram searching. We find unique vendors and people who are trying to build their own businesses, especially in our market. And we try to find them early on and then get them in front of really large companies that would never otherwise sign them. And that is incredibly rewarding for us.
Well, good for you to do that, to promote their business, say, hey, highlight them. You ought to try this.
Yeah,
it's a great way to do that.
We've been able to watch a couple companies and musicians go from, trying to live gig by gig to going on major tours all over the world. And we got to be part of the early years of, them developing that and getting that experience. And same with some of our regular partners, from floral companies, decor companies, small businesses that were maybe a pop-up shop somewhere and now they have a brick and mortar and they're selling their stuff worldwide.
That is rewarding.
We've gotten to be part of that. Yeah, that is
creating
that on top
impact
of
in their
the
life.
guests we're doing. It's
amazing. You can call in case of your emergency, event emergency, that I need your help. And they're
That's
like, what
huge.
do you need? What do you need?
Yeah,
right.
We have an amazing catalog of vendor partners over the past 25 years, and I know who I can pick up the phone and call, and they will come no matter what. Yeah, it's really special. We're very thankful.
Have you had any odd requests from clients? I mean, where you go, have you ever been stumped, like, we don't know how to find that, or?
Yeah, we've
to
created some things before. They've seen it somewhere else in the world, and we're like, "Oh, we can do that." And then we're behind the scenes finding
why did we say yes?
Yes, we get odd requests for things.
Like, can you name what it was? Do you remember?
We've asked people to go funny places that are not typically corporate friendly, but we laugh and say, we'll do it if it's not illegal
Or
or
immoral.
moral-ish. Sure, just silly stuff.
Yeah.
I think entertainment is usually we're trying to create
Mm.
that. We created.
They've seen it in a different market, or they've heard about it, and they're like, "What about this?"
We're lucky to have a team of people like us who. Some of us are very, very crafty. Others, like myself, are not as crafty, but we're willing to put ourselves out there. So we've had times where clients have asked for something, and we say, "All right, we're going to make that." And we have a young lady in our office, Hannah, who. We dressed her up as a photographer for an event, and she walked around and took Polaroid pictures of people.
Oh, cool.
Polaroids are cool again.
Yeah.
So we use internally what we can to make.
So she did the event for you.
She did.
That.
Yeah, she did an exceptional job.
Yes,
I guess had a blast.
They didn't know.
And it's a great idea. Now we're like, oh, we should sell that again. That's great.
Yeah, it's something different that they can take home with them from the event.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a really nice thing to do. So if you were planning your event, let's say for your birthday party, what would you ask for?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna have a hard time answering that.
I know for myself, my first look would be to the linen catalog. We have a lot of really amazing linens out in our market that are available. I tend to gravitate towards something that's like embroidered or very like heavily sequined. We don't get to use a lot of that in corporate, and as you know, we don't plan weddings. So when we actually designed our company holiday party this year, I was like, I saw one linen, I'm like, that's it.
But you can't keep it, can you?
No,
you gotta
we
give
just
it back.
rent it and send it back.
But it's beautiful.
But I do have a nice little swatch in the office. I can revisit it from time to
beautiful.
time.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so we went for like a really impactful monochromatic look, all green tones.
Oh.
Yeah, just something, I tried to just pull something out that, we don't necessarily get to do every day or that a client might not be as open-minded about.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. It's your company Christmas party.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing. It's like, it's what you all love. So what kind of desserts did you have?
We had carrot cake and some delicious different types of like sorbet. Yeah, it was incredible.
It was a buffet meal or a sit-down dinner or?
Sit-down dinner, but served family style.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So everybody, and you have a nice sized group of people to enjoy that together.
Since we don't get to be the guests a lot, we're just happy to put on pretty clothes and get together.
We're usually in the shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're behind scenes. You're like the producers. You're like the behind. So what kind of advice do you give your clients when they're about to launch into their event? Do you give them any advice about how to make it a great event or give them any counseling?
I think good advice is to know your budget and to be willing to share that. A lot of people are afraid to tell anyone how much they're planning to spend because they think everyone's going to then spend it all. It's quite the opposite. If we know what you're envisioning or what's most important to a client and what they're looking to invest in the event, we can actually come up with more ideas and have more flexibility on how to execute that to make sure that we're hitting the points that are most important to them, but also rounding out the rest of the event. We find great success with that. And, just going to an event and having there be delicious food and drink and some music is a great baseline. But like Donna touched on, something additional experiential, sometimes something that they can walk away with, or just something else that they can touch and feel, especially if not everyone knows each other, because that kind of creates a common experience right there that makes it easier to talk to someone else at the party that you haven't been introduced to yet.
I think the greatest compliment for when I have parties is that when I see people together at a party, they become better friends with each other than they are with me. So I'll go to a restaurant and go, well, how did you meet so-and-so? We met him at your party. That's great. You became friends. How come you didn't invite me to this? So that was sort of it was a compliment that you knew. I think for me, the fun part is when I sit down before the party and I decide who to put at that table. Because you can change lives. I mean, you could really... Who gets along, who becomes friends, who sets up a company together. Because it is the magic part of doing that. Any other last moment pieces of advice for anybody planning an event or wants to find, how to find you? I mean, anything else that you want to share with our listeners?
We are always open to, helping anyone with their event, whether it's actually working with them or pointing them in the right direction. I think that's something that we're really open to. Again, at the heart of being able to share who our partners are and keep them in business is really important to us.
We won't gatekeep.
We don't gatekeep. No.
You don't get.
We don't gatekeep.
No. We're happy to share and, get exposure out to, the great relationships.
Well, do you ever have a list and say these are these are people we really like?
We won't put it on paper, but we will tell you about it.
Who you really love.
Yeah.
These are people you love. It's got your stars there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna share a little bit more about these events, about why we love parties, because you're all about parties and events. And as a physician, we find out that parties can be therapeutic. Did you know that? Can be very therapeutic. You get social validation. You spend time with others, and you can bond, and you can be friendly, and you can hopefully meet like-minded people, but also learn from other people who are different. You celebrate success. Usually it's a happy event. You can commiserate failure. Hopefully we're not having much failure. You learn about the passing of time. You share your experience. But definitely it's the social connections and contacts, as I shared, about meeting new people, but rekindling friendships. And I think for my party, a lot of old friends over the years, I'm going to see after 20 to 30 years later. And to see them, it'll be like, what happened? So it's touching back at the past and honoring it. I still remember one of my friends who I lost last year of breast cancer. It was my last luncheon with her out in town. And I asked her, what do you want people to remember about you? What's important to you at this point? And she goes, that my life had meaning, that I had touched other lives. So maybe in a lot of ways, rather than wait for me to die at 98, to hover over the funeral, I want to hear that stuff now, which is sort of a nice thing, right? Although people shouldn't say anything bad, but it's fun. But I always like preparing my remarks for these events, because that's the fun part as I put it together. And then one of the rules I give to the guests is I always give them some assignment about, I tell everybody to meet 3 people they've never met before, and then each table will have the name of a chapter or something, and I'm going to ask them to figure out what they have in common, if they can identify what they all have in common, because it makes people want to talk.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's really special.
Nice thing about your centerpieces, they're low, because if they're high, they can't see across the table.
You can't converse. We have a 12-inch rule in our office.
Yeah, because you can look across and then get out and walk around and meet other people, and I think that it moves people around a little bit. I think that's the part they love. But it's really the connections, and what is it about parties? That's good for your immune system, provided nobody's going to infect anybody. But endorphins, when you laugh, you can commiserate, you can share great memories. As a host, it teaches you about organization, to appreciate what you do, because you're the unsung heroes, right? All the time you spent behind the scenes, you don't work set hours. You're always working, like some of us and what we do. We're always working, always thinking, always creating. But what it does for your memories, it's creating that precious memory of way back at that party. I danced with so-and-so as last time I saw them. I mean, those special things that come out. They also say you sleep better. You're probably exhausted at the end of the party. I mean, do you ever do back-to-back parties?
Yes, all
you
the
do?
time.
Oh my gosh, you reboot.
We have an incredible operations team that there's sometimes just have to go on to the next.
Oh my gosh. And then, your mood boosters are important. They're good for your heart and your skin. If you do outdoor events, good for vitamin D. But, it's all about Party On 2025, right? It's about celebrating our joy and what we do and our passion. So I just want to thank all the listeners for staying true to this show as we enter our 10th season. And I want to thank you for the work you've done for my parties and the party you're doing this year for my big 7-0, which is 7 in the Bible's completion. So 70 is a good number. Every day we have a gift, and every person you meet them for a reason. So I'm so glad you're in my life to make this wonderful commemoration, this great event, which Likewise. I can't wait to share the joy. And if there are any challenges, you'll solve it. You'll solve it with a smile, just get it done. And if not, it was meant to happen that way. So any last moment farewells to the people listening in? No?
Thank you to our amazing team and to all of our vendor partners and clients over the 25 years. We are so honored to be hitting our 25th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a milestone. Congratulations. Well, thanks again. Stay tuned next month on House Calls, and y'all have a great month. Take care and God bless. You weren't invited to this, but we're here. See, that's the hard part. Well, I tell the guests, don't post it on social because people get really upset. I wasn't invited.
Myself.